Minister Ong.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank all the MPs who have spoken on the bill and their support for its introduction. On behalf of the DPM and Minister in charge of Monetary Authority of Singapore, let me now address their questions. First, on the legal tender limits for coins, Mr. Saktiandi highlighted the need to educate the public on the new legal tender limit. Currently, information on the legal tender limits for coins are published on the MAS website. MAS also explains these limits when it receives feedback from the public regarding their experience with coin payments. And now with a formula that's a lot easier to remember, there is an opportunity for us to explore ways to further raise public awareness of the new legal tender limit. Mr. Saktiandi and Ms. Sylvia Lim have highlighted the concern that people who get most of their income in coins may have no choice but to pay in coins, and they may be affected by the new legal tender limits, especially if they use $1. Mr. Sylvia Lim went on to explain how the new limits will work in her speech, but let me elaborate further. I thank Mr. Saktiandi for helping me answer part of this question, but let me just repeat some of the facts. The new uniform legal tender limit of 20 coins applies to each of the 5 coin denominations. Thus, it allows a payer to use up to 100 coins, or $37 in total value in a single payment transaction. Further, compared to today's legal tender limit, in terms of monetary value, there's actually no change for 50-cent coins and 10-cent coins. In fact, an increase for 20-cent coins. There is a reduction in limit for 5-cent coins from $2 to $1, but it is not likely to affect many existing transactions because it is very rare for customers to use so many 5-cent coins, which is a point that Mr. Lee Jia-sing raised. The main reduction is really for $1 coins, as Ms. Sylvia Lim had pointed out, from no limit to 20 coins, or $20. Ms. Lim asked if there is widespread situation of persons overusing coins for payment and whether this change is really necessary. While we agree that cases of people paying with large quantities of coins are actually very few, MAS received quite a number of feedback from the public on the need to place a limit for $1 coins. Following the high-profile cases I mentioned earlier, and we mentioned, 3 of us mentioned in our speeches, so it looks like we are all aware of those cases. So because of that heightened awareness, a limit for $1 coin therefore does serve to protect more vulnerable consumers or salespersons against abuse. I should say that it is actually very rare that people pay for goods and services with a large amount of coins. The great majority who are employees and do not receive their income in coins, a great majority of lower income Singaporeans are actually employees who do not receive their income in coins. For small vendors like hawkers who may receive a large amount of coins and small notes, they either deposit their cash or use them as change for their customers. And in the very rare incidences where someone without a bank account somehow collect income in coins and need to purchase something with many coins for whatever valid reasons, the vendor can adopt a flexible approach, and I will urge them to do so. Because let me reiterate, the legal tender limit does not prevent a payee and payer from mutually agreeing to transact using quantities of coins above the limit. Mr. Saktiandi further expressed concern that the legal tender limits would affect the sales of small businesses such as newspaper vendors and provision shops where coins are still mainly used for payments. I think this is also unlikely. As I explained, the main change is really the $1 coins. And instances of customers using more than $21 coins for any denomination are actually very few. Customers who are used to cash are also very likely to use notes. I even come across a report that says small vendors that switched to e-payment actually saw an increase in their business. This bill proposes a practical move towards a much simpler set of limits, easier to remember, makes it easier for merchants to operate. It will not disadvantage consumers except in some very extreme, even theoretical instances. Second, on coin deposit fees, Mr. Saktiandi and Mr. Lee Jia-sing asked whether the service charge imposed by banks when accepting coins can be regulated and capped. Banks typically charge a deposit or administrative fee for coin deposits because they incur costs in handling coins. It's not just the counting machines, but beyond that is also authentication, sorting, packing, transport. The setting of fees and charges for bank services are commercial decisions made by banks, but MAS will keep a close watch on the fees. MAS also expects banks to disclose the fees and charges for their services upfront so that businesses and consumers can make informed decisions. At the same time, MAS will set up alternatives to the banks for depositing of coins. So the public can also deposit their coins at several designated locations managed by Certis-Cisco, which has been appointed to manage MAS's coin operations. Deposit fees at these centers are at a nominal rate of $3.50 per 1,000 pieces. There are no fees for depositing 1 cent and 5 cent coins at these centers. Third, on the removal of 5 cent coins raised by Mr. Yi Jiaxing, MAS will hesitate to remove 5 cent coins because they're still worth something. And if you take a look at products sold at supermarkets, convenience stores, fast food outlets, you will see that many basic necessities, bread, eggs, beverages, etc., have 5 cents in their pricing, such as $1.95, no, $2.95. There is a chance that removal of 5 cent coins may lead to such items being rounded up to the nearest 10 cents. So I think better not. Mr. Chen Shou-Mao talked about e-payments and a cashless society and how it will inconvenience and even threaten consumers. Our approach and our objective is never to be a cashless society. We think we should promote e-payment because it is convenient to use, it is more efficient. The way to do this is not to compel, but to make e-payment very convenient to use. And I think over the last couple of years, MAS has implemented many initiatives I mentioned in the last bill debate, from FAST, Pay Now, SGQR, United UPOS system. All these make e-payments a lot easier to use so that people are naturally attracted to use e-payment. And while we do that, always ensure there is the option of still using cash, because as Mr. Chen pointed out, there will still be members of our society still very used to using cash. I should add that it is not just the seniors. In my interactions with seniors in the community, and many of them attend the digital literacy courses, many of them are actually champions of e-payment and really embrace the using of e-services, booking their medical appointments, paying by e-payment, so on and so forth. So I will also encourage not just the seniors, but also the young to embrace e-payment and realize the convenience of using them. Lastly, on IBNS, Mr. Satyandi asked how many banks support the use of IBNS and how MHA intends to reach out to those banks which have not expressed interest. He also asked about the cost impact on banks from the use of such IBNS. MHA and MAS have been engaging the Association of Banks in Singapore on the use of IBNS for cash transport services. As pointed out by Ms. Sylvia Lim, there are some advantages for doing so. Discussions are still ongoing. IBNS will not be made a compulsory requirement for cash transportation services, but an added option. While banks are generally open to new technologies, banks also will need to assess, together with their service provider, the combination of technology and manpower that best fits their needs. With that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Currency Amendment Bill.
Minister, committee stage what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill.
The question is that Parliament will immediately resolve itself into a committee on the bill. As many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that clauses 1 to 5 stand part of the bill. As many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Bill to be reported. Mr. Ong.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I beg to report that the bill has been considered in committee and agreed to without amendment.
Third reading what day?
Now, sir, I beg to move that the bill be now read a third time.
The question is that the bill be now read a third time. As many as of the opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Currency Amendment Bill.